Good morning, friends. Welcome to SCM Weekly Webinar Series. Today, our topic is Cycle Counting Best Practices. I am your host, Venkatesh Narayanan. Let us get started with few points about the webinar. So, this is a weekly webinar series, and every week we will be talking about one of the SCM concepts, tools, or techniques. The duration of this webinar is for 30 minutes. 25 minutes we will be discussing on the topic, 5 minutes for Q&A and other things. During the course of the webinar, you will be coming across few polls. Please participate in the polls, which will help us to design this webinar series in a better manner. And you can find the handout of this particular webinar on the handout section under the Go to Webinar panel, where you can download this for your future reference. And the participants are registered for the entire season, that is until the December. So whenever you want to kind of like remove yourself from this emailing list, you can do so whenever you get the invitations or reminders. This webinar series is brought to you by Physics Business Consultants. Physics specializes in business analysis, supply chain management, and new product development consulting and certifications. And Physics is an ACP of Epix USA, ASC of SIPS UK, offering the 4 certifications listed below. So let us get started with a quick poll here. So please participate in the poll. So what is your proficiency with cycle counting? I have launched the poll. Please give your responses. Yeah, I will stop this when it reaches 80%. Please make it fast. Okay, perfect. So let us continue our discussion. So inventory auditing. So whenever we talk about inventory auditing, we have two major methods. One is periodic, another one is perpetual. What we are going to talk about today is cycle counting, which is coming under the perpetual inventory auditing. So basically, what is inventory auditing? As you know, we have two types of inventory in your organization. One is physical inventory and another one is logical inventory. What is a physical inventory? Physical inventory are the things that is available on the factory floor or in your warehouse. It is physically available there. It is physically present. That is the reality, right? That is about physical inventory. But we also have logical inventory. What is that logical inventory? The representation of the physical inventory in your accounting books or in your WMS or in your ERP. That is the reason we call it as logical inventory. So now inventory auditing is the practice of, or it is an act of reconciling the physical inventory with that of logical inventory, right? So inventory auditing is the practice of reconciling the physical inventory with that of the logical inventory. What is the reason like we adjust this logical inventory? Because we make most of the decisions, or I would say almost all the decisions within an organization based on the logical inventory, not based on the physical inventory. Because whenever you kind of like fulfill a customer order, you don't go and count how many finished goods you have, or whenever you want to buy a raw material, you don't kind of like identify like how much raw material you have. Rather, we go through the system and based on that availability, we make the decisions, right? So since we are making almost all the decisions based on the logical inventory, this logical inventory should truly represent the physical inventory. That is the very reason we are doing the inventory auditing, right? So when we say logical inventory is available in a book form For example, like when I was working for an engineering organization in 1990s, 91, 92, okay, during this time, we maintained the inventory in a book. We call this as inventory book. It is a physical notebook, like a ledger, maintained by an accountant. And he will be kind of like monitoring like what is the inventory level we have. So everything is like posted and kind of like we make a balance at the end of the day. So that is the way kind of like inventory was monitored in a manual world. But today, like most of the companies are using WMS or ERP to manage their inventory. So here it's a kind of like we call it as a virtual inventory or logical inventory. Okay. So now the physical inventory and logical inventory, we have this two piece, and the physical inventory is the reality, logical inventory is the representation of the reality, because we make most of the decisions based on the logical inventory. Okay. So now cycle counting. Cycle counting is one of the methods of inventory auditing and the most widely used these days. And it is based on ABC classification and using a particular criteria or criterion. Last week we were discussing about the ABC classification and the multiple criterion we can use. So here we have this three classifications under ABC, right? A, B, and C. A are the most valuable ones, maybe in terms of annual dollar volume or any other criteria. So here A is counted at least once in a month, B is counted every quarter, C is counted once in a year, right? So this is a high level about cycle counting. So now the EPICS dictionary defines cycle counting as below. This is a very clear-cut definition about cycle counting. An inventory accuracy audit technique. Okay, it's basically inventory audit technique where inventory is counted on a cyclic schedule, that is on a repeatable manner. A category is every month, B category is once in a quarter, C category is once in a year, rather than once in a year, right? Here, like in case of like why they are saying rather than once in a year. In case of periodic inventory, right? In case of periodic inventory auditing, everything is counted only once in a year. But in case of a cycle counting, it is done in a cyclical manner. A category is given more importance, C category is given the least importance based on the value. The key purpose of cycle counting is to identify items in error. Where are the mismatches? Thus triggering the research. Then we will get into the fact finding, identification and elimination of the root cause that is kind of like creating these errors, right? So the whole thing put together, like what we are saying is cycle counting is kind of like the counting is done many a times in a year based on the ABC classification where the material falls. And the most important thing is we are able to maintain an ongoing accuracy with cycle counting compared to that of the periodic inventory auditing, right? In case of periodic auditing, the inventory is counted once in a year. All the inventories are counted once in a year. The inventory accuracy is very good on that day, but after that, from that day onwards, the inventory accuracy starts deteriorating, and only at the end of the year it is restored again. But in case of cycle counting, the best part is because we are counting several times in a year, the inventory accuracy is maintained. So that's the reason we say ongoing inventory accuracy is maintained in case of cycle counting. Okay, and wherever there is a discrepancy, we will get into a fact finding mission and find out the root causes and we rectify that, right? So that is the cycle counting. But our focus for today is to discuss 10 best practices in cycle counting, right? So just to give you an idea about kind of like what is the bigger picture, that is periodic and perpetual inventory auditing is there. Under perpetual we have the cycle counting, and what is physical inventory and logical inventory we understood. But now we are going to discuss 10 specific points that need to be implemented in cycle counting so that you will kind of like you will be able to implement cycle counting in the best possible manner. Number one, for cycle counting, establish a standard operating procedure, right? The first thing is codify it. Come out with like this is part of your enterprise inventory policy, which we discussed a couple of weeks back. And when you say the standard operating procedure for cycle counting, that is falling under the enterprise inventory policy. So the cycle counting SOP says what are all the ABC classifications you are using for raw material, work in process, finished goods, distribution inventory, MRO, etc., and how it has to be done, how frequently it has to be done. All those things are given here, right? So basically, this is a body of knowledge to carry out cycle counting within an organization. So the first best practice is codify your practice, how to do that. So first, kind of like create a document and then practice that document in a consistent manner. And on this document, the cycle counters should be trained, right? So appoint cycle counters and train them in the standard operating procedure. In many organizations, cycle counting is a rotating job. You know, like they don't have a fixed person for cycle counting. Even some of the large organizations I have seen, what they do is like they kind of like assign different people different times based on their kind of like amount of free hours. So based on that, cycle counting is like a part-time job, but it is not a good practice. You need to have, for example, like if you are assigning different people in different day, that means you have a good amount of work for every day. So assign, kind of like appoint and assign the cycle counting activity to few individuals, and they do that on a daily basis so that they get specialized in this activity. So create a job description, recruit cycle counters, appoint cycle counters, and train them in the standard operating procedures so that you will have a consistent approach throughout the year. The best practice 3, assign cycle counting items only at the beginning of the shift. What do we mean? The thing is, in some of the organizations I have seen that this is our cycle counting table. It should not be visible to everybody. Nobody should be able to predict that we are going to count this tomorrow. This will be the root cause for frauds and embezzlements within the organization. If I am a cycle counter, I should not know what I am going to count tomorrow morning. I should be provided that list only tomorrow morning when I am starting my shift. When I report to the factory or the warehouse, only at that point of time, I should be provided with the list. And it's a kind of like this will avoid some sort of embezzlement or frauds created by cycle counters. So it's a kind of like keep it as a surprise element. Then the best practice 4, select those items that are low in stock and that are in production plan, that are not in production plan. See, what we are trying to say is this best practice is to improve the cycle counting productivity. For example, a particular item, take 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, when the bin is full with 10,000 items. Scenario 2, the bin is almost closer to being empty, say 10 units are there. When it is easy to count? Is it easy to count when it is at 10,000 or when it is at 10? So what it says is select those items that are low in stock for cycle counting. Of course, that has to be falling under the ABC classification policy because an item is low, you cannot count it every day, right? Because A item has to be counted once in a month, B items once in a quarter, and C items once in a year, right? So based on those policies, but still find out which is at the lowest level so that the productivity of the cycle counter will be high and the counting accuracy also better. Counting 10 items is easy. Counting 10,000 items are difficult. I may be spending the whole day to count that item. So kind of like just don't be very rigid with the kind of like a sequence, change the sequence, but follow the policy. Within that policy, whichever is falling under kind of like whichever is going to the low level in the stock, start counting them. That way you will increase the productivity as well as the inventory accuracy. And then kind of like identify those items that are not part of the production plan, that day's production plan. The reason is when too many hands are into the bin, the inventory accuracy may suffer, right? When too many hands are into the bin, like kind of like when an item is like heavily demanded in a day, maybe it is not a good day for cycle counting. Identify a day where there is a kind of like relatively lull or no activity at all. That model is not not going to be produced today. For example, in an automobile company, they change the models every week or every day, depends on the demand what they have. So kind of like identify a day where a particular set of items are not going to be disturbed because it is not part of the production plan for that given day. So try to count them. So what we are saying in best practice, this is most important best practice actually. This increases the productivity of the cycle counters and also increases the audit accuracy or inventory accuracy. Then the best practice 5, make cycle counting open-ended. See, like if I am a cycle counter, I'm getting a cycle counting slip every day. Like in a manual world, we used to get this cycle counting slip. It's normally a printed slip. And at the beginning of my career, like this is like in 91 or 92, when I was part of this activities. So what we do is like we take this cycle counting slip where the items are given, the item description is there, its location is there, and then how much quantity is also there. It is indicated. This is given by the accountant. So we kind of like myself and my friends go into the warehouse and we start counting. But it is not a good practice. You see, the serial number, description, item location, that is fine, because the cycle counter should know about this location. But in case of a permanent cycle counter, he knows pretty much more than the WMS, because he is doing this activity day in and day out. So he has a better understanding or kind of like the navigation within the warehouse. But here, like when I say open-ended, kind of like what we got is like close-ended. That means, Venkatesh, please check whether this particular motor HP, say 20 HP motor available in 100 quantity. The thing is like here, like one, I can make some oversight error. And second, if I am having sheer laziness, I will report that I have counted this, right? Both are dangerous. The second one is more dangerous, in fact. So rather, kind of like don't give them any preconceived number. Rather, make it open-ended. You give the item description and its location. That's it. They have to come out with the numbers. Then the kind of like inventory analyst, in most of the companies they have inventory analyst position. The inventory analyst will receive this cycle counting reports and they will go through the WMS to check the quantity, right? So make cycle counting open-ended and never make it close-ended. Close-ended will introduce a lot of issues. Then best practice 6, don't authorize cycle counters to override your physical inventory. For example, like you see, I got this, there should be 100 items, but I'm finding 90. Now, if you give me access to modify this physical inventory, okay, one, it can introduce scope for frauds or embezzlements, or the thing is like, I may be kind of like, I will not do the double check. I will simply go to the WMS. So in WMS, it shows the logical inventory, it shows 100 items, 100 units, and I counted only 90. I will simply change this 100 into 90. I will not do the double counting, or I will not get into the root cause analysis. So never ever you authorize a cycle counter to override your physical inventory in WMS or ERP. Then the best practice 7 is leave a gap of at least 25 days between two cycle counting events of the same item. For example, in case of A category items have to be counted every month. So in April, I counted a particular item, say a type of bearings, and I counted this on April 25th. Then again, May 2nd, I'm counting this again. It is not acceptable. The gap between two successive counts should be at least 25 days. Otherwise, the purpose of counting is lost. In fact, I have counted very close, but then the next counting may be having like a 2 months gap, not advisable. The best practice 8 is order recount in case of quantity discrepancies. Never ever accept the cycle counters numbers immediately in case if there is a discrepancy. If he is coming out with the correct number, no issues, because he doesn't know the correct number. In your logical inventory, you are seeing 100 units are there, but he is bringing 100 units, no issues. But if he is bringing 90, ask him to do the recounting once again. Even though if he is confident, you ask him to do the recount. And normally they come out with this reports. They kind of like, they have to declare that I have done the recounting, and they sign again when there is a discrepancy. Even when you say discrepancy, you have to tell the discrepancy only, not the actual quantity, even at that point of time. Keep this as a kind of like a confidential. Okay, never ever reveal the numbers, and don't give them the kind of like opinion that this time it is very accurate, counted rightly. Don't give that. It should be a kind of like, it should be like a progress report. We will discuss later. Then the best practice 9 is, and kind of like once the discrepancy is there, once you find the discrepancy, you have asked them to do the recounting once again, and now say like either they resolved it, or if they are not resolving, like kind of like the inventory analyst themselves will enter into this, or one of the supervisors should do this job, and kind of like let us try to find this. And in the worst case, if you're not able to do, of course you have to adjust to the logical inventory. We will never adjust to the physical inventory, right? We will always adjust to the logical inventory, because physical inventory is like whatever we have, it is there on the reality. The logical inventory is the problem, right? Whenever there is an adjustment, the adjustment will happen in the logical inventory, that is in your systems. So now, like once all these things are done, finally you will anyway, like if there is a very clear cut 2-3 times the counting is done, we are not able to find out the missing items. So there is some 10 items short in this particular case. So now we have to launch a investigation that why these 10 items are missing. So you have to go through your CCTV cameras, you have to talk about the previous issues, the shipments to the customers. Okay, in case of finished goods, you have to see the, like you have to see like whether some new guy is doing this picking. All those things you have to investigate. Okay, so the root cause or investigation has to be launched, and that is a very good part of cycle counting, which is not possible in periodic inventory, because you are going to count once in a year, and everywhere you will find discrepancies. You don't have time to do this root cause. But here, every day you are counting something, and whenever there is a discrepancy, you will launch, after doing the due diligence, you will launch a kind of like root cause investigation. And the last best practice is maintain progress reports for each cycle counter accuracies and publish it. The thing is, like some cycle counters are very accurate, some cycle counters are not that much. Maybe he may not be suitable for cycle counting. Over a period, you have to kind of like try to train them again and again. But if your training is not kind of like commensurate, because for some people, counting the number is a challenge. They may not be able to do that. So you have to kind of like rotate them to some other job, and put the, like this is like somebody should be good in numbers. Even this is a lower level position, like even though it is a lower level position, like a starting position, like somebody with kind of like a metric or higher secondary qualification, they are appointed as a cycle counters in most of the companies. But a very critical job. Okay, very critical job, and these guys should be good in numbers. Okay, so in many companies, when they recruit, they give them some small mathematics problems of metric or higher secondary standard, and that is the way they recruit, because they need to be good in writing. Their handwriting should be good. They have to be kind of like good in counting. They need to be kind of like some sort of like number person. Okay, so with this we are concluding this best practices. So you can access all our past webinars and presentations in this particular address, blog.physics.net. www.ecom.com/forward/webinar, where you can find the article titled the past webinars and presentations, where you can go through the recorded webinars as well as the presentations. On May 17th, we have a course, a 4-hour course on mastering inventory management, where we will be kind of like discussing about all the aspects of inventory management in over 4 hours. And this will be like 2 sessions. Session 1 is in the morning, 10 to 12 p.m. and session 2 is in the afternoon, 2 to 4 p.m. There will be like a couple of breaks in each of the sessions, one break in one session. And for the participants, for today's participants, this is available at 2,500 only for the first 5. Okay, it's almost full. We are giving this like only for the 5 participants on a first come first served basis. If you need more information on this, please speak to our manager certifications at 900-304-9000. So now, like next week, we will be discussing about fundamentals of warehouse design. Very interesting topic, and we will be discussing this during next week. We have a group called ISCN. It's a LinkedIn group where 23,000 members in supply chain and procurement are kind of like engaged in a continuous discussion. So you will come across good articles, various events that is happening organized by physics. You'll be able to understand those. And I will take a couple of questions and then we will conclude this session. So here, Manish has a question. For the fast moving item, how to make inventory count in that case? In some of the companies, like I have seen for fast moving items, in like in case of A category, if it is high value and fast moving, they again kind of like make it as A category, and it is not necessary that the A category has to be counted only once in a month. Okay, this is just a normal things I was telling across industry, but kind of like in some cases they count every week also because it is such a high value item. And Nisha has a question. Could you please explain the point of open-ended once again? So here, like this is one of the best practice we said. When we say open-ended means it has to be open-ended. That is, like I'm asking a cycle counter to find a particular item. I should not say, dear cycle counter, please go and check whether 100 items are there. I should not give this. The reason is, I'm kind of like this will create a mental block. Either like because of this 100 number, he will count to 100, or he may not count. Okay, and still he will report that I have seen 100. That is the reason we say open-ended. Not closed-ended. Okay, open-ended. Closed-ended is not good. Closed-ended means I'm telling him like, dear cycle counter, go and check whether 100 items are there. That is closed-ended. But when I say open-ended, I'm saying please go and count this particular item and tell me the numbers. So that's what we are meaning by open-ended. So now we are almost like close to the end, and thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this session, and kind of like a couple of last things, like 2 polls we have. How do you rate this topic? Please give your feedback. I have launched the poll. How do you rate this topic? Yeah, please make it fast. We will wind up. Perfect. So the last one, how do you rate the speaker? Yeah, thank you so much. We will continue in our next webinar. Thank you. Bye for now.